Hello, I'm Dr. Rhoberta Shaler, the Relationship Help Doctor. And today I want to talk to you about a topic that I'm asked often in my membership site, which you can find at optimizedcircles.com, or that I see in my groups on Facebook or in other groups I belong to on Facebook. And that is the question of, why do I so want to believe when my hijackal, my narcissistic hijackal, comes and says, oh, I've changed. I've changed. I see the error of my ways and I've changed. So I want to answer that question. And just before I do, I just want to define a few things. I work with the partners, the exes, and the adult children of these very difficult people. I call them hijackals. And my definition for them is hijackals are people who hijack relationships for their own purposes, for their own gain, for their own satisfaction, and then relentlessly scavenge them every day, usually, for power, status, and control. So it doesn't matter about a psychological diagnosis, which is why I trademarked the term hijackal, so that we could all talk about the patterns, the traits, and the cycles and the behavior, how it goes down, how it affects us, how we respond to it. So today I want to talk about this phenomenon, which is we so want to believe they change. They come back and they maybe we've said no to them, or we've sent them away, or we're not speaking to them. And they come back and they say, oh, I know, I've been terrible and I've changed. I've seen the error of my ways. And so you're so tempted to take them back. And most people do take them back. Many times you'll hear in the groups that, oh, I've done that 3 or 4 times. Give me the strength not to do it again. And so I want to give you a little insight into why that happens. And why it happens is that you're hooked on hope. You're hooked on hope that that person that you first met is the real person. That's who they really are. And somehow when they got into all this other negative stuff, that's not who they are. It's that person you met. And so you're hooked on hope that that person is going to show up again. And you may honestly believe that if you love them enough, you're compassionate enough, you're compelling enough, you're attractive enough, you're quiet enough, you're less demanding, you're more patient, you're more compassionate, that they will return, that you can do something about it. Now you're probably a person who is empathetic. You're probably a person who sees the good in folks. You're the person who goes the extra mile, the one who wants to give people second chances. So they're very happy to find you because you have that predisposition to let them do their thing, and you will make excuses or rationalize or justify their behaviors, right? Oh, they're having a bad day. They had a bad childhood. They're going through a rough patch at work. I mean, you've got it all down pat. We all do, or all did, until we woke up and smelled the herbal tea. So what's really going on here is that we are hooked on hope that that person will return. But that person that you met in the beginning was in a phase. It was in an acquisition phase. They were reading you really well. They could tell what you wanted. They could tell who you wanted them to be. They could have insights into what would make you happy. But if you look back on that time, you may very well see what most people do, which is there was speed involved. That when you met that person, they said things like, oh, I just knew the moment I saw you, I was going to marry you. Or I think I love you, let's have babies, or something that sped up the process. Now, why did they do that? They did that because they know they can't keep the front up for very long. So they want to grasp you in while you are in the glow, and then you will feel responsible for staying because you've married them, moved in with them, or you're having a baby. Now, whether they're male or female hijackals doesn't matter. The exact same thing is true and will happen. So don't be surprised about that. And when you look back on your story, there was probably speed involved, right? And you were loving it. You were going along with it. You couldn't believe that you had found this fabulous person. And they knew you so well. They seemed to see into your soul. They gave you just what you wanted. You were on cloud nine. You felt great. Well, who would ever not want that? Of course, that's exactly what you want. And that's exactly what they gave you. Problem is, they can't keep it up very long because what they're doing is looking for what we call supply. They want supply to validate them, to tell them they're wonderful, to be there for them, to show them that they have importance, that they can get people into their lives. And so they like to have quite a bit of supply, but you just are the current supply. So they're pulling you in. And so you're hooked on the hope that that person that you met, who was really in what we call the love bombing stage, would return. And how you can know this is if you ever get disgruntled enough that you threaten to leave, often they'll go back and be that person because they will go back to love bombing. Again, being in that state to say, I can't lose my supply, so let me do what I know to do to attract it back. And you know that they lie. You know that they manipulate. You know that they betray and seduce and exploit. You know that. And you know that deep in your heart, even if you don't want to admit it out loud. But you know that. But you so want it to be true, that that person was real. And I understand that completely, because who wouldn't want that? But why I'm doing this video today is I want you to think about it. Am I hooked on hope that that person I met, that person who swept me off my feet, who enchanted me and charmed me, am I really just expecting that person to come back? And I will take any tiny little glimmer of it, you know, any tiny little crumb that seems like that, and I will take it as a sign that that person is still there. I know why you do it. I know that it's attractive and you want it to be true so much, and you have all kinds of reasons for it, and some of them may be valid. But I want you to understand this basic concept that you are hooked on hope that that person is going to return, that person you fell in love with, and that wasn't the real person. I'm sorry to have to break that news to you, but you know in your heart that's true. That wasn't the real person. That was the person in acquisition mode. That was the person love bombing. That was the person who said, get me some supplies so I can go on and do my life. Let me fill that box. Let me fill that compartment. Let me get that person to supply my need. And then I'll just go and do what I want, and I'll be how I want, and I'll tell them they're wrong. Now, I've made lots of videos on these things, so you can go and find other videos about boundaries and love bombing and all that. And I also have a e-course that you can take called Seeing the Cycles. So if you really want to deeply see the cycles, whether that was a cycle that you had a hijackal parent, or you have a hijackal partner, maybe other hijackals in your life, a sibling or relatives, you need to see the cycles. They're all the same. It doesn't matter whether the person has narcissistic tendencies, passive-aggressive tendencies, antisocial or histrionic or borderline tendencies. They will all be similar. So I hope it helps you to realize that at that moment when you are feeling strong and you are walking away from this person, and they come and they love bomb you and they tell you that they've changed and they tell you that they are fundamentally different, or they start saying that, well, I'll go to church with you, or I will do things that are more spiritual in nature and demonstrate to you that I am this wonderful person. Beware, because that's a person who has gone back to the acquisition phase. They got afraid they were losing their supply. They went back to acquisition mode, and nothing's changed. Believe me, nothing's changed. No matter how much you want to believe that they've changed, they don't change. Yes, they can make little changes. So it's not that they don't make any changes. It's the big ones I'm talking about. They don't change their fundamental nature because they became that when they were young, very young. And they don't know another way to be. And even when I'm working with them, and I have clients all over the world, even when I'm working with them, they don't know another way to be. And so when I provide another way to be, they say that they will do it, but they don't do it. They will say, I know I rage. I know I flip out. I know it's unnecessary. And then when I say, well, stop doing it, let's find the cause of it and stop doing it, they will tell me, well, I'm trying. But I tell them this, the only evidence in reality that you're sorry about something is that you change your behavior consistently over time, not for 15 minutes, but consistently over time. You change your basic behavior. And hijackals usually don't, can't, and won't. So beware of that. Beware that they're going to come back and give you this wonderful shot of love bombing, being the person that you originally met, and you're so hopeful and your heart is in it to win it. It's not going to have changed. And you are going to feel worse when you realize that you were taken in, that you were had, that you were gotten again, and you don't feel good about that.